by cultivating an 8-year-old for 3 years until, and I'm going to quote the report, until he could fit it in. And then when she was 11 years old, he forced her to perform.
And you heard correctly, but it doesn't surprise us anymore that these monsters exist. We know they exist, but what you'll never be able to explain to me is how in the world did he go from a life sentence, which is what he was facing in the indictment, to just 15 years. Now, it's not only that, but when you find out that he was already on probation on a suspended sentence when he picked up this charge, which means he owed the courts 10 years if he violated his probation. Well, he violated that probation doing this to an 8-year-old for 3 years. They could have given him 10 years simply on the time that he already owed them. Yet they settle for 15 years and up for parole after just a few. Now, before we watch this 2025 parole hearing, we are going to take a flashback to the past to his 2023 original hearing, and then we'll come back to the present day. So with that, let's jump.
My name is William Brickhouse. My DOC number is 608-422.
And Mr. Brickhouse, excuse me, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, and then we'll have a parole interview with you. I want to acknowledge that we have, well, I see Miss Alice Partisan with the DA's office is here this morning. And you all will have comments. We'll call on you at the appropriate time to do so. Thanks for being here. Mr. Brickhouse, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently served 15-year sentence. Your sentence in Natchitoches Parish in September of 2019 for indecent behavior with a juvenile. You have a parole eligibility date, which was March 22nd, 2023. You don't earn good time, so your full term date is March 23rd, 2033. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you, Mr. Brickhouse?
I'm 39 years old now.
And you'll be 40 in June, I see.
Yes,
Pretty
ma'am.
soon. So how long have you been in jail?
I've been here since 2018. I think, ma'am, to be honest.
About 5 years?
About 5 years, yes, ma'am.
So you've served about 5 years of your 15-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been in Natchitoches your whole period of incarceration?
Yes, ma'am.
I see, in 2022, you earned your HISAT.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Yeah, good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That achievement. So you sent us a letter. I don't see a date on the letter, but we received it. Yeah, you dated it March 11th of this year. And you're talking about your parole eligibility and the hearing in general. But what you say in that letter is you say, I've learned so much about myself and life in general. Tell us what you mean by that. What have you learned?
Well, I've learned that there's consequences for your mistakes. I've learned that what I do affects other people around me, my actions, and how I handle things. I've learned a great deal about myself of the trials I've been through and tribulations I've been through. I've done something I thought I never would be able to do, was achieve my GED. So I'm very proud of that.
Good. So have you been able to take any programs? Have you been able to take program opportunities there?
What program opportunities, ma'am?
I'm asking, are there any, I know you got the GED, so that's one program you participated in. Was there anything else made available to you?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
And so let's talk about why you're in jail. I mean, I see this as your second offender, but in this particular conviction, the victim in the matter was your niece,
Yes, ma'am.
and there was, she was between the ages, or the activity occurred when she was between the ages of 7 and 11.
Yes,
How old
ma'am.
were you?
How old am I?
How old were you?
I'm not good with math. 20 something.
Well, yeah, you're 25, I believe,
Yes, ma'am.
when it first started. So what was going on in your life? Why did this crime occur? And I don't believe she the only victim of the abuse.
Yes, ma'am. I believe so.
Well, you would know.
Yes, ma'am. She is the only one. I thought you would ask me a different question. I'm sorry.
What happened?
Wasn't on my right mind, ma'am. I was back and forth on crack. I did have drug abuse that was going on during the time of the crimes.
So you say that's the reason?
That's the only reason that clouded my mind like that, to do something that way.
How old were you when you first started using drugs?
18.
Okay. So over a period of 4 years, you abused this child.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever had any sex offender treatments?
No, ma'am.
And as my understanding, you may have a mental health diagnosis.
Bipolar schizophrenia.
And do you take medication currently?
Yes, ma'am. I'm on my medications.
When were you first diagnosed?
As a teenager, about the age of 15.
And were you always compliant with your medication?
I'd have a manic when I wasn't able to have my meds. I wouldn't get my meds refilled by me not having the money, or me lack of insurance to get my medication, and then I'd self-medicate.
With the crack or whatever drugs you get. So how did you afford that? How did you afford that?
Stealing. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'm gonna just be honest with you, Mr. Brickhouse. What's your last write-up?
I haven't had a write-up, ma'am.
It's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really, I want to commend you again on your achievement for the high set. You know, I can't vote positively for you today without some treatment. You need substance abuse treatment and you need sex offender treatment. Would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Roche. No. Ms. Wine. All right. So let me ask the staff there. Is there anything, ma'am, that you'd like to tell us about Mr. Brickhouse, or do you know him at all?
The only thing I'm aware of is he's been a trustee for probably 4 years out here, maybe longer. I would have to confirm with Major Henson or Captain Sines. I've never known him to be in any trouble. He's been a role model inmate since he's been here.
Oh, good. I appreciate it. So what is your job at Brickhouse as a trustee?
I'm a floor man, ma'am. I get the mops and take care of trash and do the duties around the compound. I basically do anything I'm asked to do.
Okay. Glad to hear. We're going to hear from the victim, the DA's office, on behalf of the victims. Good morning.
Mr. Harrigan is going to speak. He's the DA.
Good morning, Village Harrigan District Attorney. We have met and discussed the possibility of Mr. Brickhouse's parole with the victim. She was unable to be here. today, but she objected. And so on her behalf, we would object this morning, and also on behalf of my office, we would object, and that's all we have.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Brickhouse, is there anything you want to say to us before we vote?
I just want to say that I worked with probation and parole up in Miss Crystal. She was talking about the transitional home program. That was if I was able to meet the criteria and for me to go to it. Anything to help better myself. Like I said, this place here does not offer any kind of other programs besides GED. And I wouldn't mind bettering myself. So I was going to try to get out and get into a program to better myself.
All right, well, I'm glad you're thinking about your future, but I've already told you, I'm not willing to take the chance on you without the programming that you need. So my vote today is going to be to deny your parole. I'm going to make a recommendation that you be moved to a DOC facility so you can get some sex offender treatment and some substance abuse treatment. Mr. Rocha.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Brickhouse, based on a lack of rehabilitative treatment and programming, expressed opposition from the judge, the DA's office, law enforcement, the victim is adequately opposed, and Mr. Brickhouse, you simply served an insufficient time for the offense that you could.
Mrs. Wise.
My vote is the same for the same reason. Best wishes to you, sir, and congratulations on that high set.
All right, Mr. Brickhouse, today your parole's been denied. We're going to see if we can get you somewhere to get you some more help. That concludes our business in Natchitoches. It is 11:02 a.m. Thanks for accommodating us today.
I'm happy that the assistant DA or DA showed up to say something, but I'm not impressed at all with their lackluster effort. Maybe you want to argue on their benefit that, well, they knew that he was going to get denied. But have some type of, make a strong statement. Say something that would put some fear into the mind of the cockroach. Do it at least because you're angry and you want to do it on behalf of your victim. Are you so burnt out and so tired that you just don't even care? It's just a job. It's just another day in the office. You do this to a child, you steal their innocence. You change the course of their lives. Of if they have children, their children's lives. You're changing the course because there shouldn't be leniency around this. Now, he took a plea deal. They got 15 years, which is actually, for Louisiana, pretty decent. The most I've seen is 20, and we've seen as little as 5. We've actually seen as little as just a few years probation. House arrest or whatever. And I don't believe for a second that this was his only victim. He said, I believe so. And then when she said, well, you would know, he immediately, his response is, I didn't understand you. No. What do you mean you understand you? She didn't repeat her question. There was no you heard exactly. You're doing your manipulation thing because that's what you are. They should have probed. They should have accused him. They should have. Don't be kind. He doesn't deserve it. And there's no curing him. And that's what just gets me angry. It's you're kicking the ball down the road. He's gonna get out. And you know, the idea that he could even get parole 5 years into the sentence, that means you're putting the victim, the victim had to know that this date was, she did know that this date was coming. We have seen people come up and say that the victim was sent to the hospital through stress and couldn't make it because of that. We have seen victims who do show up and just break down. You're going to make a victim? It's like, you got to be kidding me. Now, I know that they recently passed a law that requires, and it goes into effect in the summer, but I think it'll be retroactive for this, that he can't apply for another 5 years. And it used to be they could apply, I think, a year after. So for these kinds of crimes, they have made some changes to keep the victim in mind. It's baby steps towards doing the right thing.
And apparently he was grandfathered in, so he didn't have to wait 5 years. It's just 2 years later, and here he is back for parole. Now I gotta say, the old man I don't know. It's been a couple years. I see that I've aged, but I do agree with, I think, everything that I said. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's not a good thing. You want to see growth over time, but at least in this case, I'm consistent. I don't know. But we're going to jump in 2 years later to see if anything's changed. See if he's had insight, if he's learned from his programs, and maybe the DA will do a more effective job. I did see that there are different people there representing the DA today. Now, these hearings, they fall under the return of playlist, which is how we keep track of hearings as they go through the years of their parole process. And I think that we're the only channel on YouTube that does this, at least with parole hearings. And that's because this is more than just a channel where we play parole hearings. This is about actually keeping track and understanding how justice works and doesn't work. And we're also able to do this because of Lady Holly and Sir Richard's spreadsheet that make it easy to connect the dots. If you want to see more hearings like this where we follow the parolees through the process, check the return of playlist. Also want to thank Nicole, who is a Mandalorian, a subscriber for a long time, who said, Mandy, make sure that you check out this hearing. Now, with that, let's jump in.
Okay, please tell me, what did you do to get yourself put in prison? And why do you think you're ready for release today? Why do you think we should release you?
Honesty is, I made a stupid mistake when I was younger that I should not have done, that I do regret. I take full responsibility for it. I went up for parole, and I've been down with credit time and everything. I've been down probably about almost 9 years. And the whole time, all that I had to do was examine myself and figure out what went wrong and how to fix it from here on out. I also enlisted into a SO program for a year, and I wasn't going to cut corners. I actually needed the program to help me understand more about what happened and why it happened to prevent it from happening again. And also, I just know I'm ready. I mean, I'm guilty for what I did, and it does hurt me, and I can't take that back. But all I can do is learn from it, and hopefully not to ever put that on anybody ever again, because it was very wrong. I do admit that.
Okay. All right. Let's now hear from Mr. Jason Medvin, and you can decide if you want to speak first, Mr. Medvin, or allow the victim to speak first. Can't hear you.
You're muted on your end.
There you go.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He is a second felony offender. The first offense was, I believe, exploitation of the infirmed, where he was given a 10-year suspended sentence and placed on 5 years probation, and that was in 2013. He followed that up by cultivating an 8-year-old for 3 years until, and I'm going to quote the report, until he could fit it in. and then when she was 11 years old, he forced her to perform oral sex on him. I commend him for all of the programs that he is participating in right now, and I do wish him luck. But even if he were to serve his 15-year full-term sentence, that is the deal of the lifetime, because he was originally indicted on aggravated rape of an 11-year-old. So we think he's still got quite a ways to go. In reality, he's only been in prison for 6 years, I believe. Yeah, for 6 years. So I realize that we calculate downtime and that can somehow equal 9, but the position of this office is he's not even come close to paying for what he did in this case. Our victim, she's not here today, and I can understand why she's not here today because of what happened. We've been in contact with her, and I guess up until this morning, she was ready to participate, and I guess she realized what had happened to her, and she doesn't want to revisit this again. So it wasn't a mistake that he made when he was younger. He did something that was evil at that time, and I'm not saying that he can't make amends for that, but being 6 years in prison and participating in a couple of things to help him, I don't think that's enough. So that's why we oppose it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I would like to ask him a question.
okay,
Yeah.
we have a question from the board. Ms.
Yes,
Ledoux.
ma'am.
In the report that I read, the offender's spouse was aware of this. Were there ever charges or consideration of charges against her for any kind of accessory to that?
No, I don't think so. I came on the office in 2020, and I reviewed everything yesterday and talked to Ms. Hardison. I don't believe that she was ever considered as for prosecution in that case. But I think that what is critical here is not that this was just one event that happened. This was something that happened over a 3-year period, from the time that she was 8 until the police got it when she was 12. So this is something that this was over an extended period of time.
Thanks again. Any more questions? Okay, seeing no more questions, and the victim is not there, so now we'll move on. Your case has been assigned to Ms. Ledoux. Ms. Ledoux, would you lead the questioning, please?
Yes. So it indicates in the report that you were on SSI prior to your incarceration. Were you disabled, sir? Mr. Brickhouse, were you disabled?
Yes, ma'am. I had a mental disabled. It was SSA, ma'am.
Okay. And was your spouse, are you and your spouse still?
No, ma'am. She's living with some other man, and I'm looking to file for divorce when I get out.
Okay. So explain to me what your proposed residence plan is with Freedom House. Is that correct? I'm not familiar with them.
Yes, ma'am. Her name is Miss Melissa. She runs I think a faith-based religion house in Covington, Louisiana called Freedom House. She's aware of the situation, and she told me when I come to the parole hearing to let y'all know that she does have a bed open, and this was 2 weeks ago, and she said she don't care where she's got to put me. She has a reservation for me if y'all approve. And I have the information right here if y'all don't have all the information as far as the telephone number and the address that I'll be going to.
We do have a residence plan
in here. I just didn't, I wasn't familiar with this particular facility.
Okay.
Were you on any kind of mind altering drugs? I mean, any kind of substance, alcohol? During
Yes,
this-
ma'am. I was at that period of time when everything happened. Yes, ma'am. That's when I was indulging in a dark side of the world of drugs. It just wasn't one. It was crack cocaine. It was methamphetamine, ecstasy, and I think that was it. I wasn't really big on drinking, but I have been rehabilitated since 2013. I took a program, a 90-day program, because I was on probation, and of course I failed it, and they gave me a choice to go to a 90-day outpatient program, and I succeeded it and continued to go to AA and NA. And also when I went up for parole in 23, I went and took the SO program like they requested, and also they asked me to take mass, and I did complete that course too, ma'am.
And I commend you for that. Yeah. So this was your biological niece, correct?
No, ma'am, by marriage.
Okay, so it was your wife's niece.
Yes, ma'am, my wife's niece.
I do not have any other questions at this time. I'll defer to my colleague.
Do you remember, now that the district attorney has brought it up, that first offense you had for exploitation of the infirm where you got 10 years, 5 years probation? You remember that one now?
Oh, yes, I remember that, but what I was told by an inmate lawyer, a second offense would mean the same offense. That's what I was under the impression of. But when the lawyer got on there and said that it is a second offense, because on my rap sheet it says first offender on my rap sheet, sir. So I figured I was a first offender. I wasn't completely.
First, second, third, that's offender class. How many felonies have you been?
Oh, I had one, but also I did serve a 5-year probation thing and got pardoned by the governor. So I didn't know how that actually went in with that when I got pardoned.
You've also been arrested 8 times for 13 other offenses, and 4 of those crimes were against the person. You remember those other arrests?
Against the same person?
So 4 of them were against a person. The other ones were property crime.
Miss Angel, if I'm not mistaken, for stealing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I just want to know if you remember.
Yes, sir. That
They
was
still on your record.
Yes, sir.
Along with that, what was the details of the exploitation of the infirm? What happened there to get you a 10-year sentence?
I did have a business that I was doing, which was yardscaping, and I was going door to door and asking people if they needed the yard done, paint, whatever they made and needed. And I was doing good, and I ended up stopping that business, and I still had a client. His name was Mr. McKenzie, and this is awful. I feel awful about it, but he started letting me do work for him and everything like that. And at time I was spending the money on drugs, fueled by my drug addiction. And I started to do a lot more work for him. And a few times I needed money to help pay for my bills, which I did. And I got high one time and I kind of called him and lied to him to ask for some money. And, I got caught, which I'm glad I did because I deserved it.
Right. That's all the questions I have. I just note that in the file, there's strong opposition to your release from the judge. The sentencing judge is opposed. The sheriff is opposed. As you heard from the district attorney, they're opposed. The chief of police is opposed. The attorney general's office is opposed, noting minor victim and hasn't served half of his sentence yet. So you got some opposition from the law enforcement community to your parole release. So.
Okay, and I saw you took sex offender treatment. You took all 4 phases?
All 4 phases, yes, sir. Scored 100 on every test.
Okay, good. Good.
It has been confirmed that you are a first
And
felony.
you are a first felon offender by the way it went down. It was arrest, conviction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he's a first. They didn't convict him on the 2013 charge to 2019. Okay, I have no further questions. Panel ready to vote?
Mr. Brickhouse, my vote today, I do want to say congratulations on finishing your sex offender treatment. That is something that is very much in your favor. Your victim was 7 years old when the conduct began, and over a period of grooming, several years. They are opposed, the victim and law enforcement is opposed, and you have not served an adequate amount of time, in my opinion, for the charges that you received because it was fled down. So my vote is to deny.
And
I'm gonna concur with Ms. Ledoux for the same reasons.
okay, yeah, I'm also to deny not enough time served and the serious nature of the offense in law enforcement opposition. Today your parole's been denied, but hang there, Mr. Brickhouse, you'll have another day.
I have a question. May I ask? When would I be able to go back? When would I be able to go back up in front of parole, sir?
5 years,
5 years?
sir. Okay, that'll end our time at Union Parish Detention.
All right.
Yeah, get out of here. Just another cockroach. And as you can see, look how much he's learned in this couple of years that passed with all of his programs. Look how much growth and insight he has had. It's so appearance, right? I mean, what were the words he used in this parole hearing? I made a stupid mistake when I was younger. I shouldn't have done it. I've learned what I shouldn't do, and what I did was wrong. I'm guilty. It does hurt me. I can't take it back. How many bingo cards did he hit on that one statement? How insane. I mean, and it's not really insane. We see it all the time, but it is a little bit remarkable that all these years, all these programs, and all you have to do is say something with a little bit of like insight, like a little bit of meat on the bones, a little bit, just to fake it. Forget that he means it. I don't think he means any of it. I think the only thing he means is he's sorry that he got caught and that it does hurt me, right? That I'm guilty. It's like, but there's nothing there to even fake remorse. You can't wrap your mind around it. I mean, as a father of a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old, you can't begin to wrap your mind around it. And the DA did a better job this time. He you could tell he put a little more oomph in it. He actually quoted the words as soon as it was. It's like what this monster said. But I can't get over the fact that now maybe, like, again, it's so he has this felony against the infirm, which, by the way, when he tells the parole board what he did wrong, did you even hear how he described that crime? I was going through a hard time with my narcotics, and I called my client and asked him for money. That was how he described the crime, in which he was given a 10-year suspended sentence. Now, he drops in there that he got a pardon from the governor, and he drops in there that, and then it said, well, it wasn't 2 felonies. It ends up being 1 felony. So maybe there was some technicality how he got a pardon from the governor. I have no idea, but thank God we are now able to record these pardon hearings so that we would be able to, if this happened when we were covering it, we'd be able to look back at that hearing and say, how did he get a pardon from the governor? while he's still in the probationary period. It makes no sense, but maybe it happened. You have governors that, they go through agendas. We see it in Connecticut. They hand out pardons and record expungements like it's hot. You don't really have to have many qualifications. A pulse is enough in many of the cases in Connecticut. It could be in Louisiana was going through the same thing. But if there was not a technicality, I just need to call out that the DA are a bunch of two-faced. Maybe not this guy. He said he only came on the case in 2020. It wasn't in his time, but I just need to pull this up. If there is no technical, reasonable, lawful excuse for why they only gave him a 15-year sentence, they're just two-faced criminals because he owed them 10 years for the suspended sentence. And we see this all the time, where people, they can have in their jackets 40 years of suspended sentences, spanning suspended sentences for over a decade. And then they will commit a crime. They will catch a new felony, and their underlying offense could get them more time, but they get a 3-year sentence. But meanwhile, they're backing over a decade or more in sentences from their suspended sentences. I hope this doesn't sound like word gibberish to you. Do you get what I'm saying? The DA, without even going to trial, could have said, you owe us 10 years. 10 years is what you're going to get. But they don't do that. Instead, they somehow plea it down to one count of of a juvenile, like a low offense, not even a serious. And he gets 15 years. They say no good time, remember that, but there's doing some gimmicks with the sentencing because his sentence, they call it downtime. Remember at the beginning, you're not qualified for good time, but he's only served 6 years, but it's counted as 9. And he saw how he was able, see, he's clever enough, and think about that. He's clever enough to, or he has enough brain cells to say, I have served with credit and everything 9 years. The DA comes in and says he's only served 6. So again, this is someone who is smart enough when it's important for him to say with credit and stuff 9 years, manipulation, right? He's also, I believe, he knew about the law that was passed, the legislation that was passed that would require him to wait 5 years. And he wasn't sure whether he'd be grandfathered in again. And that's why that was the first question on his mind to the board. So he wasn't completely shocked when they said, hold on. When they said to him, it's going to be 5 years. He knew to ask that. And you hear from the poor victim and how the survivor, she was ready to come on, but she couldn't make it. And we see this all the time. It's we at least now she can wait 5 years before having to see this monster again. But we see this time and time again, and this is something that it's strange. But legislators, they don't usually take it into account. She would have had to have gone through this from the time that he was even sentenced, just a few years to his first parole hearing, and a few years to his second parole hearing, and just that 1 year period going up to the parole hearing. We have heard from so many survivors that entire year can be chaotic. The spiral spins into all different types of negative. It could be a year of hell, and then wait every day as it gets closer, not knowing what the result would be. And you're putting the survivor through so much more pain and trauma when you give these short sentences with these short parole term eligibilities, and it's crazy. And people say, and it's someone who was doing this, like you can't explain it. It's 7-year-old. Like what? What is there even to talk about here? What kind of deal is that these DAs hand out? And I know I'm repeating myself, but what else is there to say? Some of you might remember this hearing. We covered it originally 2 years ago, and then when it came back in the spreadsheet, it's here. And let's see, the research that Lady Holly did on it was, let's just go over that. So as you can see, for 4 years he did that. 8 to 13 is when it came out. It made the news. Look at all these articles. I've read through them. There's nothing to go into. It doesn't give us any more information, so I'm not going to screen share them. But there's, it made the news. There was actually a news segment. He was on TV for a little bit. And it wasn't even a 30-year sentence. He was facing 30 years. I think maybe, yeah, I guess that's what it was. Ultimately, in his first indictment, he was facing 30. We can go to the fact of the day. North Carolina, and this one would cause an uproar in Australia. This would cause an uproar everywhere. I had no idea. North Carolina, no happy hour allowed in North Carolina? This disappointing law is well enforced in the state. While an establishment can offer specials on food anytime, drinks must stay the same price at all times. The idea of this law is of course to discourage excessive drinking. Maybe it's ridiculous, but it's still illegal. These laws are still in effect. Some are strictly enforced and others more comical than serious law violations. Regardless of what you may think of any given law, violating it can get you in trouble, so no elephant plowing or bike riding with one hand. I guess there's another law, no elephant plowing or bike riding with one hand, really? Now, it's funny when we read these ridiculous laws, but I also think it proves a point, because it takes the same amount of effort to write that law into effect as it would to say that someone who does this to an 8-year-old, the minimum sentence is X years. You do it over a 4-year period, well, each offense should be prosecuted. So you can run them, and he should be a minimum of, if you count them all up, I don't know, maybe 20 life sentences. How is it possible that he gets one count, but when it comes to saying no happy hour, which is of course an insane law because it's not going to change anything. There's probably so many ways to manipulate it in the menu. Oh, you order chips and you get a free, come on. Happy hour. Imagine killing. I had no idea. I'm going to go. We have this thing I grew up, every day we would have happy hour. Now it's not always to drink, you can have apple juice and peanuts, but it's just the idea of it. It's something my 95-year-old grandfather, I call him every day. I try to call him every day at 5 o'clock while he's at happy hour. He has his scotch. He always has his scotch. Amazing. Imagine a state without happy hour. That's crazy. North Carolina. I mean, I'd move to South Carolina, I guess, in a jiffy just for that one. Again, these laws. So it can't be hard to write laws to protect our children, yet they don't really exist. Not at the level that we should see them. And with that, I'll let you go.
In reality, he's only been in prison for 6 years, I believe. Yeah, for 6 years. So I realize that we calculate downtime and that can somehow equal 9. But the position of this office is he's not even come close to paying for what he did in this case. Our victim, she's not here today, and I can understand why she's not here today because of what happened. We've been in contact with her, and I guess up until this morning, yeah, up until this morning, she was ready to participate, and I guess she realized what had happened to her, and she doesn't want to revisit this again. So